Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of the Wizard of Oz podcast, the greatest show on the All Indiana Podcast Network. I'm River.
And I'm Dr. Jace.
And we are joined today with Paul Dijak-Robinson, one of the owners of My Pet Carnivore.
Hello.
Hi, Paul. How are you today?
I'm doing well yourself.
Outstanding, as always.
Oh, yeah. So My Pet Carnivore is pretty much a raw food store for pets, correct?
Right. We have a wide selection of whole prey raw food. It's essentially the whole animal, as close as we can get to the whole animal. So we have chickens and ducks, beaver, muskrat, mutton, pork. There's a wide variety of the whole prey ground products. We have, of course, chunk dimes as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we use that stuff a lot at sanctuaries.
Oh, I remember the time when we bought a bunch of frozen lamb lungs and I had him thaw them out in the bathtub, and it looked like a murder scene. If I went in there with the black light or whatever to look for blood, it would have been a really bad time for the forensic science guys.
Yeah. Sometimes can get a little like grisly, but that's why a lot of our clients, surprisingly enough, a lot of our clients are vegan, but they do realize the food is more appropriate for their pets than their diet is.
Yeah, so that's better than those extremists that decide to put their animals on a vegan diet and then they end up dying. I remember that lady in Italy that had the fennec fox that she fed the vegan diet, and it died, and she got shit on so much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the fox, you could tell from her very first video when she first got the fox all the way up, gradually going up. This fox's name was Jumanji. You can look up Jumanji the fox, and Sonia Say was her name. And you can look at, she ended up getting charged for animal cruelty because of the condition of the fox and how the fox died. So it was pretty bad.
I don't think I've ever heard a story where that ends well.
Yeah, well, species-specific diets for any kind of carnivorous animal, whether they be canid species or felid species, because felids are obligate carnivores, they need to have some sort of raw diet or wet food in order to survive. Because cats, they don't.
They're too good at hunting.
They're too good at hunting, and they need that. When it comes to dogs and wolves and coyotes and stuff, they actually do need roughage, and they do eat berries and stuff like that. They forage around, but with cats, they actually have to have the meat and the bone and the sinew and stuff, which is good because Nakia is mad crazy about the My Pet Carnivore beaver.
Oh yeah, I got some scars over that one.
Yeah, she did not care for the muskrat very much. She stared at us like, the f*** is this?
Surprised you would think they would both have a similar reaction, but you're right there. If you're our customers, they're the one or the other. It's rare that you can get them both that are excited about them.
Yeah, she was. I go in the cage and I'm like, well, there's chunks of bone all over the place. It looked like a slaughterhouse in there because she'd grab it out of the bowl and take it all the way to the top of the enclosure and just nom, 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 nom. And he walks by. And then I walk by. Hi, Mom. I could take it away from her and give it back and she'd be fine with it. But the moment he even goes anywhere near her space, it's like, get out of my space, Tubby. I'm going to eat you.
Yeah, I leave her alone after 6 o'clock at night. It's like, yep.
Yeah, after
your food time.
After 6 p.m., she shifts
See you in the morning.
A giant Wolverine or something. She's huge. Werewolf, yes. We're going to go with that. Weird cat. Because the genets are just a feliform. My cousin calls her the weird cat because her head's shaped like a triangle. So, got questions that you want to ask?
It's more like talking points.
Let's talking points. Let's go. I love it.
Oh, yeah. So I know, most of the animals are from, local farms around Indiana and Michigan, aren't they?
Yeah, we have a farmer in Holland, Michigan, Shenborn Farms, and they do the procurement, and they have a licensed slaughterhouse, which is actually, there are a lot of raw food companies out there, but I don't know of any of them that have a dedicated licensed slaughterhouse for just this purpose.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So they'll bring in 100 chickens one day, and they'll bring in 4 or 5 goats the next day, and they'll process them there in the farm, package it for us, and then twice a week, the semi will come down and deliver the food to us.
So they're USDA licensed, or?
USDA is for human grade food, and so there are federal divisions as far as where the end user is. I don't know the exact agency, but they have 2 state and 1 federal license, and they get visits all the time, as you probably do as well.
Oh yes, we get visited a lot.
I do live to USDA division, but when you see USDA approved, that's for human grade the stamp. These are human grade food.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think there's a pet division of the USDA that
Yeah.
they have.
Yeah, probably the APHIS animal welfare division or something like that. That's who visits us. USDA APHIS. They
could be
because they got to inspect the animals
Mhm.
while they're alive,
Right.
as well as when we have an animal pass away, we have to report it as well, so they can remove that animal
Right.
from our license. Or if we don't want to educate with that certain species anymore, say like Nakia, for example, she doesn't really like anyone but me. We had to take her off our license. So
Yeah, it's just sitting on there for no reason.
yeah, pretty much. She was sitting on there for no reason. The state of Indiana does not have any laws about non-native species animals. We don't have to have permits for her. So I was like, well, whatever. Just take her off this, and just she's just a pet.
Yeah. It's not like they charge per animal anyway.
No, our they just changed the laws now. They're doing 3-year licenses with the USDA. So the licenses for the slaughterhouses and stuff might change too.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we focus primarily on the marketing and distribution. So that's really my strong suit. As far as the actual divisions of the different agencies, that's on them to take care of.
Word. Marketing is a good talent to have. I don't have that talent. I'm like, I'm gonna just make a flyer and hope it works.
That's a pretty good setup, though. Just gonna sell the food and have to actually process it or anything.
Well, division of labor obviously is pretty critical.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, we were doing, for instance, deliveries. So we had a 15-state footprint where we would send out our freezer trucks to meet our customers on the road. So we meet at a gas station or Walmart parking lot. So we had 6,000, 7,000 mile route once a month that we had, and 4 trucks going.
My best friend, actually, I referred you guys to them down in Tennessee, and she's sad because she can't get food from you guys.
Well, it became a huge challenge. You had to either be in the trucking business or in the pet food business.
Yeah.
But you couldn't do. I couldn't do both. There's so much. There's DOT regulations and there's labor laws you have to comply with, as far as how many hours you spend in each state before you're liable for payroll taxes. And then if you do cross a threshold, it's county by county, so it get really complicated. I thought,
It is a lot.
I'm gonna stay in Indiana and
And then-
just ship through FedEx.
And then keeping track of all of the gas receipts.
Well, that was
For
easier.
taxes.
It's just a matter of keeping the paper receipts, but it was all the different regulations that really could have been 2 companies, but I didn't want to have to create another company that did just trucking, so I just decided to go with FedEx.
Yeah, FedEx is probably a cheaper way anyway.
No, it's actually more expensive
it?
because your friend in Tennessee, for instance, we would drive to Tennessee, bring any amount of food she wanted to buy, and there was a one flat fee of $15 for delivery.
Yeah, and
Now it's $35 per 50 pounds is what we charge, and our average cost to ship that much is around $50. So we subsidize every package that leaves the property, just trying to keep the cost for the customer down as much as
That's
possible.
why I'm thankful I live in Indiana, so I can actually just come and pick it up.
yeah, we're just like a few miles from the store, so it's pretty easy for us at least.
Heck, even if we buy a farm, on the other side of the state, I'd still drive here to get it.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. and we have clients that do drive up from Tennessee or from northern Michigan, and they're larger customers, but
Buying in bulk.
they do, yeah. So
Yeah, I was buying in bulk, and then we ran out of freezer space because we started getting a lot of animals donated to us to kill ourselves, like chickens from people who got chicken farms, or people had too many roosters and they want to get rid of them, and they just like, hey, you want these roosters? Sure. And I'm driving my Silverado with this giant wolf dog crate in the back to go pick up a bunch of roosters, and we're at a freaking gas station, and the rooster's going, "Arr, arr, arr," and stop like, "Arr, arr, arr." People just laughing at us while we're sitting there, and I'm sitting here like, oh gosh, I'm just so embarrassed right now, but it's funny.
It's pretty funny because we visit our farmer once in a while just to kind of see how things are going. And on his farm, he has some pendant areas and has a big yard for where the house is. You'll almost always see chickens running around, and I like these just these pets are food. He goes, oh, folks drop them off all the time. They know we'll take them. He said, so we wake up in the morning, maybe 5 or 6 new chickens, and same with
People just drop them off.
They do. They just come by because they know Mark and Carol will need them, and they, like you say, they're the backyard farmer for chickens, and they got too many of them now, or they're done doing that backyard thing, and here they come. They just drop them in the front yard, and so it's not uncommon to go to their house and yeah.
That's how my parents used to end up with a bunch of barn cats when we lived in Texas.
That's my dream situation.
We had
Wake up in the morning, chickens in the yard.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just chuck the chicken over my 6-foot fence. No, that's just rude. We'll just put a doggy door on there, just open it, throw the chicken in.
Yeah. Larger property will get a drop box for them.
drop box so the chicken can go in the main yard. This is the chicken drop box. Please open the box and shut the door afterwards so the dogs don't get out. Or we could just build a lockout right around the drop box or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Just
check on it a couple times a day.
It's my chicken lockout.
But basically, the products you get are pretty much whatever they have available at the time. So
yeah, for instance,
varies.
we have seasons for a lot of things. Turkeys, it's a very long story with turkeys, but we only get them once a year, and so he'll have one farmer that'll raise just for us.
Nice.
And I'll bring in like 3,000 turkeys, and that'll last us through, say, March or April.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to go to what we call the recipe. We have, parts that you put together to make a mix. It isn't our favorite. We'd much rather have the whole prairie, but the turkey industry in Michigan is a mafia, frankly. It's
the turkey mafia.
It's great from the grower standpoint because they have bound together as a co-op to have sort of more of a leverage for themselves as small farmers than the big corporations do. So, it's great for the small farmer, but they also, because of biosecurity, will not let their members sell anywhere except to the co-op plant. And so we want to live birds, but we can't buy them from the co-op members. But there's one individual farmer that will sell to us. So,
nice.
And that's very helpful to us. We really with the whole live animal, and so we start with.
Yeah.
It's a complicated industry, I think.
It is.
I do love that whole prairie diet, though.
Yeah, the whole prairie diet. And,
it's just easy is what it is.
It's easy and making sure it's a species-specific diet. Because what were we feeding Wyoming from My Pet Carnivore?
A lot of things, just whatever they had on hand.
He was the one that liked the muskrat the most, right?
I think so.
So we had a European polecat. It's like the original version of the domestic ferret.
Okay.
And when you compare the size of him at 8 months old to a 5-year-old domestic ferret, he was 3 times larger than the ferret. Because the ferrets have been captive bred forever, and this guy, when he was full size, he was almost 8 pounds. And that's the average, the maximum weight they can get. But when he lived to be almost it was a little bit over 1 year old. And the sad part about it was that we were feeding a species-specific diet based on an animal that had all of his natural organs. And when he started showing some really negative neurological symptoms, and he ended up, I took him into the vet, and we had him looked at. We spent, I think $1,500 just trying to save his life, and ended up having to put him down. And then I took him to Purdue. I'm driving to Purdue, just bawling my eyes out in the middle of the day, trying to make it there. Had no idea where I was going because I'd never been out that far. So when I finally got to the Purdue small animal hospital where they do the necropsies and stuff, I wanted to know why he died, because there was no reason for an animal that was as young as he was to pass away like that. And so
couldn't find anything on any of the scans or X-rays.
Scans, blood work, everything seemed normal. When we got him there, we found out that he had gallbladder agenesis. He was born without a gallbladder, and it's extremely rare in humans. It's even more rare in animals, and it's never even been heard of in any kind of mustelid animal. That's a mink, a ferret, a polecat, any kind of otter. It was never even heard of, never been discovered before. So, I was asked, once I calmed down after all the results come through a couple weeks later, she asked me if she could put this in one of her papers, and I was like, yeah, sure, just mention my sanctuary. But the fact is that, feeding that animal a species-specific diet based on what their species actually needs is extremely important, but this is a lesson learned. Every polecat we get from now on is going to get an ultrasound to make sure that they have all of their organs, because without a gallbladder, he needed a specific diet for an animal that doesn't have a gallbladder. Just like when we have the gallbladder removed, we have to be on a specific diet as well. And we were feeding him too much. It was I think it was too fatty or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was basically toxic to the blood, and it actually ended up necrotizing the brain. So it's really extremely important for breeders of these animals to do genetic health testing on their parents before they even put them together. But even if this woman did genetic testing on them,
They probably still couldn't have caught that.
They wouldn't have caught it because it's something that just randomly happens. This a lot of people wanted me to blame the breeder and stuff. I'm like, it wasn't the breeder's fault at all. This is something that's not even it's not even common in human beings, and it's never even been heard of in this species before. So, yeah, when people want to blame the breeder and jump right on blaming the breeder, it's or the place that you get your food from, they were trying to say, oh, it might have been the food, might have been bad. No, it's not the food, it's not the breeder.
Mm-hmm.
This is a literal genetic issue that popped up. It's extremely rare. And I don't think you should jump to conclusions on what caused an animal's death without actually getting a necropsy done. And it wasn't expensive to do a necropsy. It was like $100.
Oh, yeah.
And they even cremated him for us. So
I'm glad they didn't just like put a bunch of pieces in a bag like, hey,
here's
your animal.
Here's your animal. Cremate it yourself. No, I don't want to look at that. But domestic ferrets, they normally only live about 8 years, but a captive polecat can live about 12 years. And I had one domestic ferret that lived 12 years, and that was really rare. But
yeah, you actually have ferrets on your website, don't you?
Yeah.
It's one of the animals you
Yeah,
sell
we
for.
have a small but a very active ferret community that we support both with their charitable works. There's a Ferret 500 that we support when they do their fundraising.
Is that local?
Yes, they are. I think they're based in Greenwood.
I would love to see a Ferret 500.
I don't think they have a race. I think they just call it. I think they call it that. They may have a race. I don't know. Ferrets are a lively bunch, as you well know.
If they're not, I'm going to organize one. Taking bets on the side.
Kai and Takio want to join. They'll definitely own the Ferret 500. Those two are crazy.
Ferret races. I like that idea.
Actually, ferrets were used to hunt in. They actually do sporting events. They have little muzzles to put on the ferret too. And what they do is they put a rabbit inside like tunnels that are buried. They put a rabbit in there, and there's dens, and it's like a big maze or whatnot. And the ferret has to find the rabbit and chase it out the back. And the person that owns that ferret has the cage in the back ready to trap it. And whoever catches the rabbit first is the winner. And ferrets, of course, they're going to grab the back of a neck if they don't have the ferret muzzle on. So it was kind of interesting to see ferret muzzles in a photo. Because I'm like, who decided to make a muzzle this small?
It's amazing those tiny little bastards can take down something so big.
They can take down 3 times their body size. And they're extremely strong, and they'll snap the neck. That's why when they're playing, I don't know if you've ever seen a ferret play with a cat. They always go for the back of the cat's neck, and they're always pissing the cats off, okay? My cats, they're always up really high every time the ferrets are out. They're hiding, and I'm sitting here like, yeah, well, that's because you guys are rude.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, though. Cats just push them off the bed.
Cats do just, Vladimir, my Persian cat, he's always looking super smug. He's always like this, squinting. And ferret on the bed, he goes whack, and just, all you hear is thud. And you're like, are you okay down there, bro? And the ferret's just like, hopping around. Doing the weasel war dance.
Oh, yeah. We could do a whole story on that one.
Oh, yeah, we could do a whole story on weasel war dances. Body language of ferrets.
But as far as food goes, is there like any certain diet or maybe any type of food that you would recommend for someone starting out on raw?
The one thing that people understand when they transfer or transition from one diet to another, very common to have intestinal distress. So we always tell our clients first, if you're going from kibble or even a wet food to a whole prey diet, you're going to possibly see some diarrhea, some different things that start, but that will calm down. But it's important, we like to say, that the same protein for 2 or 3 days to make sure there isn't a protein allergy.
Yeah.
So like the whole prey, the pork or the chicken or the beef or whatever you pick, keep that for a couple days and just make sure they're okay with that, then move on. But variety is so critical to a raw diet. One of the things that you'll see on our products is that what we have to put on there by law, not a complete and balanced diet, feed intermittently. We have to have that because we're not AFCO approved. And people get a little worried about that, and I get that.
It's kind of weird, though. Kind of feel like the whole prey would be exactly everything you need from them.
Well, here's the philosophy of the kibble industry, and that is every meal has to have all of these things or it's not worthwhile. I always tell folks, if you ever had children, did you ever feed them a nutritionally complete meal in their lives? And the answer is no. But if you have good sourcing, good variety, good food, you'll have good nutrition. Because you are involved in your child's diet. You're not just grabbing a bag off the shelf and throwing it at your kid and say good luck. You're going to be involved in their diet and be mindful of what you're feeding, breakfast or lunch or dinner. Your pet's the same way. You just have to be involved in them and their diet and not check out when it comes to the most important part of their health, which is what they eat. And a lot of folks just want something convenient. I don't want to think about it. But once they do get involved, I really feel like there's a deeper connection with their pet.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever read our blogs and stuff on our Facebook page. I wrote up an entire, he calls it a book, an entire book on the kibble industry and how it got started, and why you should feed a more species-specific diet. Even all this whole AAFCO approved stuff. I think there's only a very few raw facilities that are AAFCO approved.
I understand how you get there because you can't take any true whole prairie diet and not get to those levels they expect you to have without adding artificial supplements.
Yeah.
So you have these lab grown mineral vitamins, whatever, thrown in there. They're not natural to begin with. But here's how AAFCO's feeding requirements. There's two ways to get your AAFCO approval. One is, of course, to have these levels of vitamin A, vitamin B, whatever it is, or you feed a dog, you have a pet, cat, dog, or a amount. So there's like 9 in the feeding trials, and so for 3 months, you feed the same thing every day, and essentially, if the dog doesn't die, you're approved.
What the hell?
It's God's honest truth because the feeding trial. But we have 82 products, at least up to 110, depending on how much you get in. You'd have to have a feeding trial for every single product.
Oh, geez, that'd be expensive as hell too.
Yeah. So and quite frankly, it would be not worthwhile.
Yeah, that's messed up.
So, but that's how the standard works, and that really is designed to control the industry. And we're getting to the point now where there's so many raw food companies that Big Kibble, if you want to call them Big Kibble,
I like that.
The people that sit on the AAFCO board are current or former
Big Kibble guys.
CEOs, and the USDA defers to them as far as the standards and practices.
It's just easier for them that way.
Precisely. But of course, you have the fox guard in the hen house, as pardon the expression. I do realize what I'm talking to here.
I love that expression.
But it's very self-serving. One of the big discussions I came across was vitamin E levels, and so you look at the back of your basic kibble, and they'll have your vitamin E, and the vitamin E is really, really high.
It's too high, honestly. When I did allergy tests on one of our cats and one of our foxes, and they were both allergic to the fake vitamin E. And I was sitting here, I was staring at it. I was like looking at this scientific term, and I'm sitting here, what is this? So I had to Google search it, and all the stuff that was like fake lab-made vitamins, these animals were allergic to it. And this was why my Maine Coon was losing its hair, and why my fox was scratching her neck so much. And not only that, my Maine Coon cat is allergic to other cats. So the dander, I guess, is the saliva that they use, and because he had to be on a different diet than them, their saliva was different. So he was allergic to their saliva. So how cats, if they live in a social group, they lick each other. When he was licking the other cats, he
might have a good time too.
Yeah. And you probably know why the vitamin E is so high.
I don't.
Because it cooks out at a certain temperature, just like taurine does. Taurine cooks out at like 250 degrees or 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and that way, all this taurine, all this lab-made taurine that they're putting in these cat food kibbles, by the time it's actually baked up to look like a kibble, the taurine is absent. There's no taurine in there. The taurine that your cats need, because cats are obligate carnivores, this is why cats need a raw diet or at least a taurine powder supplement in their in their food, and foxes as well. Do not feed foxes cat food, please. I swear to God, if I have to go over this in every show, I'm going to blow a gasket.
Then don't.
But I mean, foxes, they need at least 800 milligrams of taurine every single day, and the same goes for cats. It's 800 to 1600 milligrams of taurine every single day. They require it. Their bodies will disintegrate without it. Foxes will go blind without it, and they actually can have liver failure without it. And
It's more like heart problems, though.
and heart, they get cardio.
They're not going to, like, dissolve into a pile of mush or something.
No, cardiomyopathy. It was like was cardiomyopathy or something like that. He had the fox had fluid around its heart, and they thought it was pneumonia. They were treating it for pneumonia instead of actually treating the actual illness. And the fox died. It was one of my friends when he had the necropsy done and stuff. He found out that it was cardiomyopathy or something like that, where they had fluid around the heart of the fox. It was pretty bad.
In relation, if I mean, we'll of course cook off a lot of times, but and I've never heard a industry official admit this, but of us that are raw feeders look at that and realize that vitamin E is a strong antioxidant, and so it's actually it serves as a preservative in the kibble. So, but they put that standard really, really high. But I don't think that everyone's admitted as to exactly why it's that high. But those of us who look at it, they're just trying to preserve the food without adding, unnatural preservatives, so to speak. But
because the oil,
the bag will go bad, and
it gets moldy or gets weevils. Those are the worst thing. If you have a bag of food and you only have like one cat or whatnot, and someone gives you like a 20-pound bag of food because some people can't afford it, they get a bag of food donated. I've given people a bag of food, 20, 30-pound bags of food sometimes, and they'll call me up and be like, hey, that bag of food, my cat ate it as much as possible, but I still have almost half a bag left, and I got little insects crawling around in it, and I'm sitting here like, send me a picture. And then she sent me a picture, and it's weevils. And I was like, oh, those are weevils. Those are actually natural in flour, any kind of wheat. And they, even if you buy white flour and put in and keep it on your shelf for 2 or 3 months, Tyler?
Something like that.
Yeah, it'll start hatching the eggs, even the bleached flour. So you gotta keep your flour either in your fridge or your freezer, or else you're gonna have weevils hatch. But you can't do that with everything that contains that, or you're gonna have a whole house full of freezers. It's just insane.
Yeah,
But
a lot of times get donated treats, and I'll forget about a box somewhere. I'm like, hey, there's some weevils.
there's some weevils
I
somewhere.
better find that box somewhere.
And what we're doing is tracing all these little dead insects all over the house. Where's the weevil box at? Where's the weevil box at? So we don't really feed a whole lot of the treats and stuff like that because they don't last very long. And sometimes when we get donations, it's like a whole bunch of bags of food all at once. And
The treats are mostly crap anyway.
yeah,
Kind of just like processed breakfast cereal.
yeah.
Which is what all this reminds me of, all the supplements and.
Yeah. What is it? We also get a bunch of supplements donated too, like, glucosamine and anything for like animals that have hips, Nupro or Nupo, something like that. We got that for athletic dogs and cats. It's got a whole bunch of random stuff in it. And was it seaweed? We get a lot of dried seaweed because of the omega-3 in the dried seaweed.
I do use some kelp in some of the diets.
The kelp and stuff is really good for the foxes. We don't, for foxes, we don't feed pork because it can kill them because toxoplasmosis is a huge issue.
I was reading an article that says that's actually not true.
It is true.
Nope.
Yes, it is.
No.
you'll find that more of an issue with wild boar than you will domestically raised pigs, as far as I know.
Well, it's transmitted through fecal matter, and toxoplasmosis and neosporosis is transmitted through fecal matter, and the babies can be born with it.
It's also more common in house cats, though.
Yeah, it is common in house cats, and that's why pregnant ladies can't clean out litter boxes. But it can also be transmitted to foxes walking through a farm or walking through an area that had a wild boar, for example, that defecated, and the fox just steps in and is licking its foot off or whatever. And
Gross.
foxes will die within 6 to 10 months after licking that because toxoplasmosis and neosporosis can kill them so easily. And this is why it's important to deworm your animals. Use the parasite killing machines.
Yeah.
But
It's one thing I could hear a lot about raw foods. Like, you have to deworm your animal once a month or something.
No.
It's like, after getting actual quality stuff,
if you're getting stuff that's quality, yes.
You know where it's coming from.
If
pretty
you know
much.
where it's coming from, the farmers keep their farm clean, etc., then it not once a month, maybe once every 2 or 3 months, just to make sure. Because I mean, hell, even a bird flying over your house, shitting in your yard's gonna freaking cause an issue if you're that paranoid about parasites. Didn't do it once a month, but
Yeah.
I mean, squirrels, yes, they're gonna throw stuff. Yeah, like that one on the back fence that likes to throw walnuts at our animals. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's a bastard. Yeah, he likes to throw walnuts, but that whole family of squirrels has lived in that tree, and I swear the
I'm sure
babies
it's more
just-
than one of them at this point.
Yeah, the family, that they just pass on this trait where they like to throw walnuts at our animals from the power line. And the foxes are just like, ah! And Rocket's like, "Brr!" and just barking at him.
Come down here and say that.
Come down here and tell that to me, and I will make you into my dinner, baby.
But yeah, avoid parasites. Just to go scraping raccoons off the road and feed them to your animals.
Yeah, there are a lot of wildlife sanctuaries that do take roadkill.
I mean, it makes sense for like the bigger ones.
Yeah, for like
a
deer.
dead deer or something.
If you have tigers and stuff, yeah, dead deer. But like
The wolf sanctuary in Battleground, Indiana.
Battleground, yeah.
They'll take the road deer.
Yeah, they take roadkill. I'm pretty sure that person's on my friends list, but I don't really talk to them that much. But
The Wolf Creek Sanctuary.
yeah,
is
Wolf Creek.
Mhm.
Yeah, there is what was that disease going around in ungulates? It was something. It was
That's like the
it was kind of
cows
like
and stuff, right?
white tongue or white nose. It caused the foaming at the mouth and stuff like that. The deer were
with that zombie deer disease.
well, the zombie deer disease too, I guess, but no, there was a disease that was going around that was killing a lot of wildlife, and
It's called people.
yeah, it's called people.
Cars.
Humans.
Cars are very dangerous for 'em.
Humans that are going around overhunting. But I mean, a lot of people look down on farmers and wildlife sanctuaries. They think that we're just keeping wild animals for no reason, and
Some people are.
Well, yeah, some people are, but
There's some
no.
weirdos out there.
No, there are some people that go out there and like, I'm gonna go and capture me a fox from the wild. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
That's illegal. It's a felony. $250,000 fine. 5 to 10 years in prison. I wanna.
Then it's all varies from state to state, though.
Yeah.
There was
But
that.
that's the federal fine.
What's that? Where's that coyote at? That was like it was in Ohio or something. That the person had it on like retractable leash, and I was trying to figure out how'd you get that out of the wild?
Yeah, the one where
I don't remember where the hell that was.
They caught it as a pup when it was a puppy.
Well, I would have to.
Yeah. Mom probably got hit by a car at that situation.
I think the retractable leash was the thing that pissed me off most about that.
I hate retractable leashes.
If you're gonna walk
Because
a wild coyote,
I'm
don't
walking,
use a retractable
I'm
leash.
walking Megumi, our Czechoslovakian wolf dog, and people that have retractable leashes just let their dogs run up to this wolf dog, and they're like getting in her face. And 90% of the time, their dogs are not even socialized and they're aggressive. And
I mean, it makes sense why we have the AFCO regulations now, because people just don't really know how to take care of their animals.
people are stupid. That's why.
But not your listeners, of course.
No, not my listeners. They're here for education. So the smarter the better. And all of our listeners have every right to make suggestions for anything or help us if we've messed up. So I mean, everybody messes up. Doesn't mean
Oh, I messed up plenty of times.
Oh, I know you mess up. Negative 350. So you got any more things you want to talk about?
Well, kind of. I'm just keep thinking about your diet, just like rice.
Oh yeah.
Like a war prisoner.
My rice diet. I don't really. I'm autistic, so a lot of people misunderstand me. They think I'm being rude or mean or hateful and stuff like that when it's overly analytical, logical, and fact-based. It's never my intention to make someone angry or hurt their feelings. It's just like it comes out that way, and it's not an intent thing. But a lot of times when you have somebody that's neurodivergent, they choose foods based on texture and flavor more than anything, and color. That's another one.
Oh, yeah.
I color code stuff, and I don't like my food touching. That's a little OCD, I guess, but...
Kind of like that purple beef stroganoff we used to make.
Oh, yes. My stroganoff had to be purple. I had to use purple food coloring.
Why the hell did I forget about that?
Remember the green mashed potatoes?
Kind of.
And when we made potato soup, it had to be blue.
Oh, yeah.
It's Dr. Seuss book.
It's my Dr. Seuss book. My life is crazy.
Yeah, whatever gets you, eat it.
It was like I don't know. I don't really eat a whole lot of meat, so there was a big issue with that. But I don't know how the hell I'm so fat, honestly. It's like my thyroid is messed up anyway, so I guess that could be the main reason why.
Yeah. It's probably eating in your sleep probably didn't help you there.
I do. I sleep eat.
Just wakes up with crumbs.
I wake up with a chip bag sitting next to me. I'm like, the fuck did I do last night?
At least you have an excuse. Not sure my problem is.
At least I don't try and put cats in the oven.
That's true.
When he drinks before sleeping, if he drinks any kind of alcohol,
Working 2 jobs doesn't help.
Working 2 jobs, drank alcohol before going to bed. He picked up a cat one time. I'm like, where the hell are you going with the cat? I need to bake some bread.
No, that was the soup one, wasn't it?
The soup? I need to make some soup.
It's like, yeah, it's like working at a nursing home or something. I usually make the soup in the morning, so I guess I was dreaming about working because that's kind of messed up person I am.
My favorite thing was when I followed him one time because, sleepwalking is dangerous. I would take his keys away at night. But I followed him one time. He goes in the bathroom. He gets in the shower. He starts taking a piss. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm avoiding questions. Like, you're pissing in my shower to avoid questions?
I was trying to.
It was what the hell, man?
Yeah, but that soup thing was like, yeah, that was Mimi, wasn't it?
It was Mimi.
My poor cat.
That poor old Persian cat. She was 16 years old at the time, too, and she just lets him do whatever he wanted. And she's just like, well, I'm glad the oven wasn't actually on.
Where are we going, Father?
Hell, I'm going to send you to King Yama. So, yeah, there's a lot of me staying up all night. I do the night shift and make sure that he doesn't get up and sleepwalk. Well, it turned out to be a health issue. He had sleep apnea, and it was causing him to get up and sleepwalk in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It took me 4.5 years to get him to actually get tested for it. Because it turned into a problem.
Yeah, that was a bit of a problem.
It turned into a huge problem that caused a lot of fights. And apnea and diet and making sure that he's cutting out certain things because his body, it was not able to metabolize alcohol. That was another reason he could not metabolize alcohol, and that's why he was getting up in the middle of the night.
I can't. It just takes a little longer.
It takes a long time for his body to get it all out.
I'm a cheap date.
Yeah. And here I am. If I take, like, even a half a glass of wine, I'm sitting here like, God, I'm going to start doing stupid things. Like taking my shirt off. Whoa! Yeah. Dancing on the table. White t-shirt contest. That's me. I'm super cheap. 1 glass of wine.
So I'm sure you get a lot of interesting questions from the public about things they should feed their animals. So do you ever get anything kind of weird or out there?
Oh,
Just kind of stupid.
The most common question we get is just where do I start, and that's real common. And they have a lot of answers on our website, but there are, for instance, we had, just this week, we have, of course, the animals that we slaughter in-house, and then we do have some that we procure from hunters,
All right.
muskrat and beaver in particular. And so she was very specific as to how are the beavers dispatched. And so we had to give a very detailed answer on that. It's very common that they want to know the method of dispatchment.
That's kind of messed up. Like, I want to know how it died.
And she was very, very.
Want to know if it's humane or not.
Probably.
And it wasn't. I gave her the answer that this is a certified humane kill trap, but she wanted to go a step further. I want the exact trap, and it's difficult because we have several trappers across the northern parts of Minnesota and Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
And so there is no standard of the type of, it's called a conibear trap. And so, but those would be different shapes and sizes. But she had also a wolf sanctuary in St. Louis, and it surprised me that was the kind of question. But actually, I always tell our staff, the truth is the truth. And we have no problem telling you anything you want to know.
Yeah.
And some folks can be upset by that, and that's fair. You feel the way you want to feel. I have been told our diet is cruel.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We hear that a lot too.
And that's, again, however you want to
are-
approach it, that's up to you. You don't have to like what I do. I understand that. But one of the craziest questions we ever got, and we had this FAQs and the infrequently asked questions on our website. And we pulled into a McDonald's one time in Illinois. We were doing a stop there for our customers. and these guys.
In like a delivery van or something.
We had this. So we call it Johansson. Every vehicle has a name, and this one's called Johansson. Johansson is red, and we had a graffiti artist paint flames on it, right? And also a picture of a wolf and a tiger in the back, and our logos. So it's I love the work that he did. We pull into Johansson into a McDonald's parking lot, and these 4 guys got out in golf shirts. Looks like they're in a guy's night out, and they said, "Hey, that thing full of strippers." I'm like, I'm in a golf shirt, and what do you think? Yeah, was that a stripper van? My wife and I are going around with strippers in the van, apparently. So that is by far the oddest question we ever received about our business.
We've gotten quite a few weird things to ourselves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, can my dog eat salmon, or what's that one? Can foxes eat raw?
Oh, the one lady was like, "Can I feed my fox raw, or will it kill it?" Like, ma'am, what do you think? This was my exact answer, because my overly analytical and logical brain said, "Do you think a fox is in the freaking backyard with a barbecue grill and a freaking chef's hat frying up its own freaking beaver burgers? I mean, seriously. Is it skinning its own meat? Is it sitting there grinding it up itself?" Like, and she's like, "You're a bitch!" And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm an overly analytical and logical bitch. There you go. If you have zero common sense enough to ask if a wild animal can eat raw meat, then you just need to throw yourself off the astronomy tower, because
It doesn't have to be a wild animal, it's like a domesticated
even a
animal.
domestic animal, like our cats and stuff, they're still gonna hunt mice. I see. How many bodies do we find all over the house, half eaten?
Our cat would always bring it to the back door and get praise before she'd eat it.
Nice.
So she wouldn't know she was paying rent.
Yep. Wanted to make sure you saw it before she ate it.
Exactly. She wanted recognition.
We have a black-footed cat, and she's this little itty-bitty thing. Kind of looks like your domestic cat that's got the tabby pattern or whatever. And she's a little itty-bitty thing with big green eyes. Like, her eyes are big. They take up half her face. And this little thing, I swear, she kills more mice than any other cat we've ever had. And I mean, for some reason, there's a strain of mice in our area that are white. They're not albino, but they're leucitic, so they have the black eyes instead of the red ones. So like, I can always, I think someone had snakes or whatnot, let loose a white mouse or whatever, or maybe it could have been a genetic mutation. But like, she's always bringing mice, and what is it? The elder of the laundry room, Arlen. A few years ago, he caught one, a white mouse. And I hadn't seen another one since then, but Ezra has caught like 5 of them.
Yeah, I've seen a few lately.
And then there was one I found in the backyard. It was in the chicken food.
Yep.
And I was sitting there like, there's a white mouse. And I was out there. We didn't have any chickens at the time. And there was white mice just running around in the chicken coop. And I tossed some food out there, and the chipmunks just came out of nowhere and started eating the food. And I'm sitting here like, when did we get chipmunks in this area? Because I'd never seen a chipmunk in Beech Grove in my life.
Really?
But this is interesting that you say that, because there's an industry joke when folks wonder why they shouldn't feed kibble as a heavy grain product.
Yes.
And we always tell them, you guard your grain from mice and your chicken coop from wolves. So you don't guard your grain against wolves getting into them. So it's funny that you that's exactly where you're.
Yep. It's and I'll agree with that wholeheartedly. And everybody, what's the main question we get a lot of the times? How do I protect my chickens from foxes and coyotes? Stop using that thin ass wire. That's what you need to stop doing. It's got to be 12 gauge wire or thicker. Okay, and
chicken wire is going to stop a chicken, but it's not going to stop something from getting to the chickens.
It's going to stop your chicken, but I mean, hell, a cat can rip through that stuff. Okay, and
we have Cooper hawks in our neighborhood,
yes.
and we have a lot of backyard chicken farmers, and the Cooper hawks are the ones that.
Yes.
We have some of our customers actually have not domestic, but they have raptors that they keep us as pets, if you will, but and they also will buy the
falconry probably.
Exactly, and they'll buy the necks, the turkey necks, for beaking. They sharpen their beaks on the bones of the turkey necks. It's really common.
Yeah,
I dehydrate those things.
There's some woods near our house because we live pretty close to a creek, and there's peregrine falcons back there. And of course, in Indiana, they're endangered, and you're not allowed to mess with them. And I think I touched on this a couple before. I can't remember if it was on this show or not. But like the church across the street from us, I swear it's cursed because they've gone through, since I bought my house in 2012, they've gone through 8 pastors. And this one guy that was there a couple years ago, I told him, I said, you cannot cut the trees down, because he was back there cutting the trees down. I said, there's endangered birds back here. You cannot cut these trees down. And what'd he do? He cut those trees down and God smote him. Okay, I'm not kidding. He fell off his ladder and broke his neck and died. And I'm telling you, you mess with the falcons and you get killed, okay? God murdered him because he was murdering an endangered species, okay? I'm going to swear on that.
Allegedly.
And yes, we're going to say allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I don't know. It could have been Yama. Yama wanted him. Yama said, they're saying if Yama wants you to die at midnight, he's not going to let you live till 3 a.m. So, yeah.
Did you just make that up?
No, that's an actual, it's an idiom in China, so.
Yeah, you are pretty good at the Chinese stuff.
Heritage, man.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when, and then, going back there and seeing all those broken falcon eggs, it's heartbreaking. And the most vicious creatures on this planet aren't even wild animals, they're humans. Because humans are out there going around killing everything they feel like it for the hell of it. I'm a superior species. I'm going to go and take out all these animals. That's what happened to Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah, I mean, nature's pretty wild on its own.
Yeah, average wild fox lives about 18 months. That's it. They're lucky if they live more than 18 months.
They're not very adept at life.
They're not. No, wildlife. That's the thing is you got your diseases, you got humans, you got cars, bigger predators. I mean, there's a lot that goes into the fact that they have short lifespans in the wild. And then you got your extremist vegans who want to know all kinds of weird things about what we're feeding the animals, how we're feeding the animals. Are you one of those cruel people that feeds meat to your animals? Yes, I am. I'm super evil and cruel. I feed my animals the diet they need.
It's kind of like people are just disconnected from where their food comes from or where the pet food comes from.
There was one lady that asked me, she goes, do you have any brown cows? Because I need some chocolate milk. Ma'am?
She was not serious, was she?
She was serious. And then she thought that my African genet was a ferret, and there was another lady that thought my African genet was a ferret, and she accused me of dyeing my ferret, told me I was cruel, and accused me of making up animals. So
that'd be an impressive paint job if you could.
If I could even get that thing to sit still so I could put flea medicine on it, it's a miracle. If I have to get her to even take any kind of dewormers to take away parasites or whatnot, it's a miracle to get her to eat that stuff.
Yeah. Another good thing is you can use probably don't have baby chicks at the My Pet Carnivore, but you could use the hearts and stuff for giving supplements and pills.
That was actually one of our pro tips in our last newsletter, was putting the pills into the heart.
Yeah, it's like a little natural pill pocket.
It is indeed. Had a biology teacher in Florida one time get very upset with us because his lab supplies were very expensive and he was paying for them with a very small budget. And he came across our website. We used to sell whole cow hearts. And so he, instead of buying cow hearts from his biological supply company, he bought them from us.
All right.
He bought 3 or 4 boxes of these things. We shipped them down to Florida, and he calls them. He was very upset because the structures inside the heart were removed. All right. But by USDA standards, you have to do that to sell it it's a human grade product that we sell on our website. Okay. And so to sell that, you have to remove the ventricles and the different things that are in there. And of course, those are the things you need to teach his class how hearts work. So because of that, he got so upset. I'm like, you do realize you bought pet food, right? I don't. I mean, of course, gave a refund, but it was so silly that he was just livid that we would do that to his hearts. I'm like, you don't.
He said, "You broke my heart, man." Oh yeah, that was an open joke right there.
Open heart joke.
Low hanging fruit.
Yes, it was low hanging fruit. I had to grab it. But yeah, people like that. What is it? We get weird calls, weird emails all the time. People like, oh, I found a wild mouse or a mouse in my house. Can you come and get it? No. There's a raccoon in my dumpster. Can you come and get it? No.
So they kind of lose animal control?
They think that we're some kind of wildlife rehabilitator or something. If it's a mouse in your house, take it to the damn field and let it go. There's no problem with doing that. You know, if you don't want it back in your house, take it a few miles away and let it go. Put it in a cornfield. I don't care. It's not my problem. I don't deal with that kind of animal. It literally states in our email, in response to our emails when we respond to people, it states we are not rehabbers. On our website, we are not wildlife rehabbers. We specifically take in captive bred wildlife. These are animals that are bred in captivity in the exotic pet trade. So, like, we have to go over this every single time I turn around. And was it rabbits, rats, mice? I get all kinds of weird emails, phone calls. I literally only answer my business phone if they leave me a voicemail. I don't call back, because in my voicemail it says, if you are in need of a wildlife rehabilitator, please call or please visit.
Maybe that usually does it.
Yeah, it usually does it. I get hundreds of phone calls a day, and 99% of them are all just people like that. So I'm like, I'm not answering the business phone unless they leave me a message.
Well, do you have any other questions you'd like to ask?
Oh, man. I probably do, but I'll think about them later at midnight when I can't sleep.
Well, fair enough. Well, how about you, Paul? Is there anything else you'd like to add we can go over?
You know, our website is mypetcarnivore.com. There's a lot of good information online there as far as how to get started. We don't present ourselves as nutritional guides. We present ourselves quite honestly as we were raw feeders to start with. And we bought the company because we were customers of it, and it was in need of new stewardship.
All right.
And that was 12 years ago. So we do have some training in nutrition, but really, for instance, when someone calls and says, I have a ferret. How do I go about transitioning a ferret? Well, on our FAQ page, there's a link to a ferret website that really discusses raw feeding of ferrets and sort of the new unique challenges and benefits to ferrets. Same with cats. My cat needs to be transitioned to a raw diet. Well, how do I do this? And I like to say, here's the link on the page. Go here. I did this yesterday. I had the same phone call. And there's a wealth of information as far as how to transition from a cat from dry food to whole prey, raw diet. So we try to be a resource as opposed to the shell answer man.
Yeah.
And that really, I think, helps people get more involved with their pet's diet if they have to do the research themselves, as opposed to like they're coming from a world where they don't have to think about it to a world where they need to think about it. They need to be actively involved to make a good decision.
That's a huge issue that we see in the exotic animal community is they always want you to give them the answers as opposed to doing the research themselves. They kind of sit there and like they need somebody with a soapbox talking to them, and it's disheartening, for example.
Well, I think it's kind of common, though, because our lives have been very compartmentalized. I recall growing up, my dad would work on the car all the time. He knew how it worked. Short of maybe airing the tires up, you know, if the engine light comes on in my car, I got no clue where to start because it's so computerized. It's so, there's you know, so I feel like we have gotten to the point where we're used to say, okay, I have a very limited, bandwidth that I need to be responsible for. Everything else I can outsource. Yeah. And really being involved more here.
Consumerism at its finest.
I'm in the retail trade, so I don't mind consumerism.
Consumerism and capitalism at its finest. There, it's like all we do is we outsource a lot of things, and I'm fine with giving people the answers, but I'm also going to cite my sources, just like on research papers. You got to cite your sources. Where did you find this information? Cite your source. Yes, that's where my brain goes. If it's on any of my posts on our Facebook page, if I've done the post, there's always sources cited, whether it be scientific studies or actual books that I've been reading, like this one. And but it's a lot of research, and a lot of people, they think, oh, they just own a wildlife sanctuary. They don't know anything about animals. Yeah, no. This is just a fraction of the scientific studies that I read.
Oh, yeah, this is a small pile compared to what you usually bring in here.
I got 5,000 freaking scientific studies going through my Google Drive. I got about, not only 5,000 studies, I got about 10,000 books. Yeah, on anything from whether it's in English or not. Doesn't matter. I'll translate it myself.
That's a gift.
I want to read, and that's all I do is read.
Well, I think we can wrap this up here then.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on with us, Paul.
Been a pleasure.
Of
Yeah.
course. And then if you guys have any more information, check out mypetcarnivore.com. Got a lot of good information and some pretty good products, especially if you're in Indianapolis or Indiana area. Definitely check them out.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And also, if you would like to know more about the sanctuary, you can find us on linktree.com/wizardofpawswildlife. It's got all the links to our social medias, our website, any kind of marketplace stuff.
And you can donate too.
Yeah.
We always need money because the animals need food.
Hey, that brings me to my next point. If you enjoy the show and would like to support it and the sanctuary, sign up on Patreon at Wizard of Paws Wildlife. And there you can get early access to shows, bonus material, and access to a private Discord chat to talk to either both of us and some of our past guests. And also, if you have any ideas for a show that you'd like us to talk about or like to be a guest, then just send us a message on pretty much anywhere you find us.
And you can email at contact.info@wizardofpawswildlife.org. And you can talk to Overwatch, and she will get you to us.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I think that'll do it for episode 5 of the Wizard of Paws podcast. I would just like to thank Alan for his editing that he does here and for all the shows at the All Indiana Podcast Network, and the network for having us on.
Yes, they are outstanding, and I hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you next time when we talk about bush dogs.
Ooh, bush dogs. Remember, leave the wildlife alone.
Yes, don't touch them and don't feed them.